Okay, so let's start today on our backs in Supta Baddha Konasana. So soles of the feet together, knees wide. Oh, and close the eyes. You'll start to deepen the breath. Let's take the first few together. So breathing in deeply through the nose. Exhale out of the mouth. 2 more like that, cleansing breath, starting over. Big breath in. Exhale it out the mouth, let it go. Last one. This time, breathing in through the nose. Back out through the nose. Try to make the exhale long. Keep going on your own, finding your Ujjayi breath. And as you start to find your breath, also finding your focus, your mindset for your practice today. The best thing about yoga, especially this physical part of yoga, is we're not just dealing with the body, but we're connecting everything. So mind, body, spirit. And when they're all working together, you feel the difference in your poses, the way you move, the way everything else just falls away and you're completely in the moment. And maybe they are just moments and it doesn't last your whole practice. But that's part of the work, is trying to extend those moments, having some control over them by breathing, focusing on the breath, and staying on our mats completely. Stretch the arms overhead. You can interlace the fingers and turn the palms to face away from you. Maybe that'll help you gather more length all the way up through the sides of the torso, up through the arms as you press out through the palms. Arms are straight, elbows hugging in. Then release the arms down to the outer thighs. So hands to the outer thighs to bring the knees back together. Start to walk the feet in. And you're trying to bring the feet so that they're hip width distance apart, heels underneath the knees. Grab the outer edges of the mat like you're going to rip the mat apart. The chest will lift when you do that, and the shoulder blades will tuck underneath the chest a little bit. Press into the feet, lift the hips up. You don't need to come that high. We're just starting out. And then on the exhale, slowly bring the hips back down to the mat. And we'll do that several times. And each one can get a little bigger. Just start out soft. On the inhale, lifting up. Keep that engagement with the arms like you're pulling the mat apart. And slowly on the exhale, bring the hips back down. Heels are heavy, digging into the mat. Inhale up. Lengthen across the front side of the body. And exhale, release. 2 more like that. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Inhale up. Exhale, release. So you can let go of the mat once the hips touch down. Bring the feet and the knees all the way together, and then lift the legs up, keeping a bend in the legs. So feet are just hovering about the height of the knees. Arms can either go out to the sides like a T shape, or you can bend at the elbows. Bending at the elbows puts a little bit more weight on the shoulders and maybe a little bit more supportive, but you decide which one feels better. Squeeze those inner thighs together and hug the belly in. And then keeping that engagement in the legs, start to bring the knees over to the right, maybe a third of the way, just a little bit, not all the way. And notice if the lower back is pulling. Can you hug the belly in a little bit more to support the lower back? Come back to center. And you'll take it the other direction. So knees come over to the left, third of the way, hugging the belly in. Notice what's happening with the lower back. Belly has to hug in a whole lot so that you don't do this work with the lower back. Come back to center. So we'll keep playing with that slow and controlled, squeezing the thighs together. Slowly bring the knees and feet over to the right. Hug the belly in. Make sure the lower back is released. Come back to center. Over to the left. Back to center. Over to the right. Still staying a third of the way. Back to center. Over to the left. So once you come back to center, a couple of options. You can stay just like with what we're doing. If you want to make it a little bit harder, you could extend the legs. So lose the bend and you can go side to side. So over to a third of the way to the right. Back to center. And if you feel too much pulling in the lower back, skip it, bend the legs. Come over to the left. Inhale, back to center. Over to the right. Back to center. Over to the left. Back to center, set the feet back down onto the mat. So just like bridge pose, feet are back down onto the mat, interlace the fingers back behind the head, rest the head in the hands, feel the elbows go wide. So the arms are still on the mat, chest is nice and open. Hug the belly in, look up, reach up with the shoulder blades in the chest, and inhale back. Exhale up, inhale back. Exhale up, inhale back, exhale up, inhale back. Little different this time. Exhale up, maybe you float the feet up the way we did before. Inhale back, exhale up, inhale back, and you're going more up than forward. Exhale up, inhale back, exhale up. Inhale back. This time, exhale up. Leave the legs the way that they are, or you can extend the legs out. If you move the feet away from the hips, you don't need to go that far, maybe a third of the way. It definitely adds more of a challenge. You can skip it all together. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. Head's heavy. Try not to use the neck. Inhale back. Exhale up. Let's do one more. Inhale back. Exhale up. Hug the knees in toward the chest. Rest the head. Rock side to side. So feeling that heat in the core. Grab onto the backs of the thighs and start to rock up and down the spine. You can always skip this if it bothers you, rolling over to one side and coming to seated. If it feels okay, take several rocks, building some momentum, maybe taking up more of the spine as you go back and forth. And then eventually we'll come to tabletop. So you'll roll forward, come to hands and knees where we'll all meet. And let's take this tabletop, turn it to the side. Doesn't matter which side, but just hands will be off the mat, knees on the mat. And we'll do a few rounds of cat-cow here. So on the inhale, reach the heart forward, lift the tail. And on the exhale, round the whole spine, chin in toward the chest. Do that a few more times on your own. And you should feel a nice stretch, particularly when you're doing the cow, arching the back in the front side of the body. And you'll start to make your way back to a neutral spine. Take your time with it. So you're back in tabletop. Let's step the left foot out to the left. So toes point straight forward, right hips right over the right knee. Right hand goes forward, so underneath the right shoulder. Left arm reaches up. And then turn that left palm to face over the ear and stretch the arm over the ear. So you're getting into that whole left side of the body. Sole the left foot, whole thing's on the mat. So you're pressing down into the sole of the left foot, left leg straight, and you're just reaching up and over with that left arm. Then you'll bring the left hand back down. We're coming back to tabletop, same direction we were facing before. So hands in front of the shoulders, bring that left knee down underneath you, and the right foot will step out to the right. Toes point straight forward. Keep that left hip over the left knee. You'll walk the left hand to the left. Fingertips point toward the back of the mat. Reach that right arm up and then turn the palm to face over the head and reach the arm over the ear. Right foot's pressing down into the mat, and make sure that outer edge of the foot is also pressing down. We'll need that later. And as you reach up and over with the right arm, feeling that whole right side of the body get really long. And that connection, so feeling a long line of energy from the outer edge of the right foot all the way up through those right fingertips. And you'll slowly start to bring the right hand back down, walk the hands back in front of the shoulders. Right knee comes in underneath the hip. Turn to face forward on your mat, back in tabletop. And then from here, tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. So first one, bending the knees is always really nice because it gives you more length in the spine. It also gives the legs some time to open up. Most of us are pretty tight in the back sides of the legs. So you can always play with that and see how straight the legs need to be, knowing that as they warm up, they'll get straighter. Then from downward facing dog, glide forward to plank pose. Come down onto your forearms, one forearm at a time, forearm plank. So we're trying to reach the heart forward, press down into the forearms and the hands a whole lot, press the heels back so the soles of the feet have some energy, and then hug those inner thighs in toward one another. Imagine if you had a block between the thighs and you were trying to spin it up toward the sky. And that rotation gives your lower back a whole lot of space. Belly hugs in to support the lower back, and it's like you're trying to reach the navel up through the sternum. Looking forward also helps lengthen the front side of the body. You just want to look up above the hands a little bit. Still looking down at the ground in front of you. And as you squeeze the arms together, you press down into the forearms at the same time. And then we'll slowly start to set the hips down onto the mat, tops of the feet to the mat. Reach the chest forward between the arms, coming into Sphinx pose. Gaze goes down the bridge of the nose, keeping that length across the neck. And even here, you're pressing down into the tops of the feet, tailbone points back toward the heels, belly lifts away from the mat, even though the pubic bone's down on the mat. Then you'll look back down at the mat, tuck the toes underneath you, and use that to start to fire up the legs. So feel those muscles in the legs. Fire up the core, press down to the forearms and the hands, just lift the hips. Everything else stays the same. You're back in your forearm plank. One hand at a time, plank pose. So hands underneath the shoulders, hips go up and back. Downward facing dog. So push the shoulders way back behind the wrists. It should be a nice opening in the upper body, especially after the work we just did. Heels are working their way down toward the mat, but you can still have a deep bend in the knees. Look forward, step the right foot through up between the hands. Runner's lunge. You can come up under the fingertips. You could grab blocks and put those underneath the hands if you'd like. Looking forward. We won't be here for long. Just stretch that left heel back. Keep reaching the chest forward, trying to take the rounding out of the upper back if there is any. Hands come back down to the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Left foot steps up between the hands. Come up onto the fingertips, getting a little bit of lift in the chest. Press that right leg back. Hands back down to the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, bring the feet up between the hands. Be gentle. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. 2 more like that. Inhale up halfway. Think cobra in the upper body. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale up, hands up the sides of the legs. Exhale, fold. This time we're coming all the way up. Press down into the feet and the legs. Rise all the way up. Bring the hands together overhead and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, bend the knees, bring the hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga, cobra or up dog. You've done several back bends on already, so you might be open enough for that, but you decide what's best. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, walk, maybe lightly hop, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. One more Surya A. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Take your time. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Keep reaching the heart forward as you lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Make sure that core is engaged, pointing the tailbone back. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bring the knees down to the mat. So you're back to hands and knees. Turn yourself over to face the left side of the mat. So just like we did before, you're on hands and knees, hands off the mat. And you'll step the left foot out to the left. Toes point straight forward, foot's on the mat. You want to make sure the outer edge of that left foot's still down. Right hand right underneath the right shoulder, left arm reaches up and over. So back in that stretch we did early on. So it's like gate pose, but we're reaching the other way. Then this transition, left hand comes down to the mat next to the right hand, shoulder width distance apart. Right foot reaches back. We're coming to three-legged down dog. Right leg goes up and back. Left foot down on the mat. Step the right foot through, up between the hands. Warrior two, take your time, spin that left heel down flat, windmill the arms up. Virabhadrasana 2, really nice transition. Make sure that right knee is going more toward the pinky toe side of the foot rather than the big toe side. So if you look down, you should be able to see your own big toe. Then flip the front palm, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, reverse triangle. Come up to standing, keep the legs straight. So we're coming into triangle pose. You could shorten the stance if you want to and heel toe the back foot in. It's all about stability. And some of us have a really long stance for our warriors, which is great. Hips shift back, right arm reaches forward, right arm down, left arm up. So don't be concerned with how low you're going. Be more concerned with how much length you're getting in both sides of the torso and across the chest, which might mean that you reach up a little bit higher. Gaze can be up at the top hand or down at the bottom foot, whichever one feels better on the neck or whichever one gives you better balance, maybe. Take this to reverse warrior. Take your time, bend that front knee, right arm reaches up and back. Windmill the hands down to the mat any way you want, back to downward facing dog. So if you feel like taking a vinyasa, go for it. If you want to skip it, that's great too. And modifications are always welcome. Knees come back down to the mat. Turn to face the right side of the mat. Hands off the mat. This time, right foot steps out to the right, toes point forward, left hand right in front of the left shoulder. Reach that right arm up to the sky, turn the palm to face forward, and reach the right arm up and over the ear. Make sure you're pressing down into the outer edge of that right foot. That'll help you get the length that you need all the way up through the right fingertips. Left shoulder's away from the ear. Then looking down at the mat, bring the right hand down to the mat. You'll spin that left foot back behind you, tuck the right toes, left leg lifts up and back, three-legged down dog. Step that left foot through all the way up between the hands. Warrior two, right heel spins down flat, windmill the arms up. Right hip, that back hip is pushing the left hip forward. That'll help you keep the head right over the hips. Legs go down toward the mat, but the chest and upper body lifts up away from the mat. So you feel a little lighter, but still grounded in the feet and the legs. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, reverse triangle. Still pressing down into the sole of the left foot. So similar here, sole of the left foot's moving away from you and you're trying to reach away from it as much as you can. Then come up to standing, legs stay straight, but you could shorten the stance by heel toeing the back foot in a hair or two. Hip shift back as you reach forward with the left arm. Keep this length in the left side body as you bring the left arm down, right arm up for Trikonasana. Right inner thigh is spinning back behind you, and the left quad is wrapping out away from you. We're taking this to reverse warrior. Hug that core in, send that left knee straight forward, reaching up and back with the left arm. Deep lunge in that front leg. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Any way you want, back to downward facing dog. Take your time if you take the vinyasa. Always going for quality of movement. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose on the inhale, bend the knees, put the weight into the heels of the feet, reach the arms up, hug the core in as you lift the chest. Legs go down. Come all the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, bend the knees. Step back to downward facing dog. Go straight there. Once you get to downward facing dog, knees come down to the mat. Turn to face the left with your tabletop. Take your time, make sure the feet and the hands are shoulder width distance apart and hip width distance apart. Then you'll step the left foot out to the left, toes point straight forward. Right hand walks forward to the right, so it's right underneath the shoulder. Left arm reaches up. Keep the left arm reaching up, so we're not going to reach over the ear this time. Press down as much as you can into that left sole of the foot, so you feel the whole left leg working, hugging the core in. And then press down into the right hand. Maybe you lift the right knee and extend the right leg forward. Just an option. You can skip it if you want to. And that outer edge of the right foot can just be down on the mat too, lifting the hips up. If that happens, left hand comes down to the mat, right leg reaches up and back. So we're all in that three-legged down dog. And that first transition we did still works with the knee down the whole time. Right foot steps up between the hands, left heel down flat, warrior two. Straighten the front leg, flip the front palm up, reach up and back, reverse triangle to triangle. Come up to standing, reach forward this time, right arm down, left arm up. Reverse warrior, bend the front knee, reach that right arm up and back. Bring the hands down to the mat. So up to you how you get back to downward facing dog. Just know that we're playing with that fallen triangle, which is a version of side plank. So if you need to go easy on the shoulders, hands, or wrists, maybe skip the vinyasa. If you're feeling pretty good, you can take it. Just listen to the body. Or if you're keeping the knee down the whole time, that's fine too. Bring the knees back down to the mat. We're turning to face the right side of the mat. This time, right foot goes out to the right, toes point forward. Left hand comes forward toward the top of the mat, just underneath the left shoulder. Could be underneath or a little bit forward, actually. Right arm reaches up. So you have to press down into that right foot. The whole sole of the foot needs to be down. If you can't get the outer edge of the foot down, walk it in a little bit until you can. And then root down through the left hand, lifting the right arm so you keep the chest open. Pressing down into the hand, left hand, right foot. Maybe you hover the knee. Maybe it extends forward. It can be lifted, or the outer edge of the foot can be down and you lift the hips up. So either way, fallen triangle. Right hand comes down to the mat. Left leg reaches up and back. Three-legged down dog. Step that left foot through, up between the hands. Spin the right heel down flat. Warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Flip the front palm. Reverse triangle. Come up to standing, Trikonasana triangle pose. Reverse warrior, send that left knee forward, reach the left arm up and back. Hands to the mat. Be mindful of how you're getting back to downward facing dog. Check in with yourself, see what you need. Then bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up between the hands. Take your time. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Back to chair pose. Bend the knees, reach the arms up. Press all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Find Tadasana, mountain pose. So feet still hip width distance, arms down by the sides. Find that focal point straight in front of you. So we've played with a lot of external hip opening. We'll do that with the standing balancing posture. So start to bring the weight over to the right foot, lift the left heel up, bring the hands to the hips. And then find those hip bones. So use your first two fingers to place them on your actual hip bones. Make sure they're pointing forward the whole time. Squeeze that outer hip in, outer right hip in. And now you can turn the left toes out, but notice if the left hip went with it. So maybe you don't turn the toes out as much or the knee out as much to keep that left hip pointing forward. From here, sole of the left foot comes inside the ankle, calf below the knee. Or maybe you reach down, grab for the foot, bring the foot up as high as you can get it, more toward the back of the thigh than the front of the thigh. And if you are going that high, press the thigh into the foot back into the thigh. Reach the arms all the way up, Vrikshasana, tree pose. Chest is lifting, maybe the gaze lifts too. And if you come out, you come right back in, or maybe you find a different placement for the foot. Upper body lifts, lower body roots down. Bring the hands together, right down in front of the heart. Left foot next to the right foot. Hands back to those hip bones, pointing straight forward. So it's nice to get that feedback with the fingers on the hip bones because they definitely want to do, it's really the right hip that you're focused on. The left hip should stay pointing forward. Start to shift the weight over to the left foot, lift the right heel. Keep the toes down, just open the knee out to the right without taking the right hip with you. So that's how far you go. It's probably not that far before the right hip wants to turn out. So once it's squared forward and the knees turn out as much as it will, bring the sole of the foot inside the ankle, calf. And when you come up higher, you really have to watch that right hip. It wants to go askew and out to the right. Keep it square. Place the foot. Connect the foot and the thigh together. Maybe you double check to make sure the hips are forward. Reach the arms up, Vrikshasana. Still hugging that outer left hip in, lifting the lower belly, lifting the chest. Maybe the gaze. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Press into the hands to keep that width across the chest, and then step the feet side by side. Really nice tree poses. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose, which always feels so good after tree. Put the weight into the heels, keep lifting the chest up. And exhale, forward fold, straighten the legs, let the head and the neck go. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, bring the hands to the mat, step back to downward facing dog, go straight there, then bring the knees down to the mat. Walk the hands over to the left, finding tabletop, all fours, facing the left side of the mat. Left foot comes out to the left, toes point forward. You can even look to make sure the outer edge of that left foot is down on the mat. Right hand goes forward to the top of the mat in front of the shoulder. Left arm just reaches straight up. And if you need to make any adjustments here by bringing that left foot in a little closer, you can, to make sure you can press down. You have to press down into that left leg and right arm in order to find the core to lift the right knee and extend that leg forward. So if the leg's lifted, it's a whole lot more strength than if it's down, but both are great. Left hand comes back down to the mat. Right leg reaches up and back, three-legged down dog. Step that right foot through, up between the hands. Left heel down flat, warrior two. Flip the front palm, straighten the front leg, reverse triangle. Come up to standing, triangle pose. Reverse warrior, bend that front knee, reach up and back. Windmill the hands down to the mat. You decide how you want to get back to downward facing dog. You know what's coming up next on the other side. Take care of yourself. Knees come on down to the mat. Turn yourself to face the right, coming into tabletop. This time, right foot comes out to the right, toes point straight forward. Left hand forward toward the top of the mat underneath the shoulder. Right arm reaches straight up to the sky. Adjust that right foot or the left hand as much as you need to. Press down as much as you can into both. Hug the core in, start to float the knee. Maybe extend the leg forward. Maybe it hovers above the ground, or maybe it just rests. Right hand comes down to the mat. Left leg reaches up and back. Three-legged down dog. Step that left foot all the way through to the top of the mat. Right heel down. Virabhadrasana 2. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, reverse triangle. Up to standing, triangle, Trikonasana. Reverse warrior, send that left knee straight forward. Then windmill the hands down to the mat. Make your way back downward facing dog. Hold dog or take a vinyasa. Few breaths in your downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, come to chair pose. Bend the knees, reach the arms up. Press up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Find those hip bones with the first 2 fingers and Tadasana at the same time. So whole body's in Tadasana, we just have our first 2 fingers on the hip bones. Start to shift the weight over to the right foot, lift the left heel, turn the toes and the knee out without taking the left hip with you. So it's okay if the left knee has to come in a little bit, that's more important. Bring the sole of the left foot inside the ankle, calf, or play with bringing it all the way up. Find that focal point straight in front of you, stay with it. This time, hands together in front of the heart. Press into the hands, keep the chest lifted and that standing leg strong. And then from here, play with twisting the upper body to the left, but don't take that left hip with you. And if the leg needs to lower, that's fine. You can bring left foot to calf. So definitely challenging your balance, noticing how that outer right hip has to hug in. And then you'll slowly come back to center with the upper body, staying with your focus and concentration. And the left foot steps next to the right foot. Hands come back to those hip bones or the fingertips, sorry, first 2 fingers to the hip bones. Start to shift the weight over to the left foot, lift the right knee, hug that outer left hip in and lift the lower belly. Now turn the right knee out to the right. Find a good place to put that right foot for tree pose on this side, knowing that we'll play with our balance a little bit more than we did the first round. Adding on with that twist. So once you have tree with the legs, bring the hands together in front of the heart, press into the hands to keep the width across the chest. And then slowly explore the twist on this side by opening the chest to the right. Try to keep the hips straight forward. We know that we twist from the upper abdomen. chest area, not lower. Slowly start to come back to center, keeping your tree legs. Feet step side by side, bend the knees, sit back, Utkatasana chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to downward facing dog, then bring the knees down to the mat, tabletop. Walk it over to the left. The last time through this flow, left foot comes out to the left, toes point straight forward, bring the right hand forward underneath the right shoulder, left arm reaches up. Find that left footprint and the right hand print, and then maybe hover the knee, extending the leg. Foot can be resting as you lift the hips, or you can lift the foot up as high as you can get it. Left hand comes down to the mat, right leg reaches up and back, three-legged down dog. Step that right foot forward, up between the hands, Vira-2. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back. Triangle pose, come up to standing, hips go back, right arm reaches forward, then bring it down, left arm up. Reverse warrior, send that right knee forward, right arm reaches away from the right thigh. Then windmill the hands back down to the mat. Make your way back, downward facing dog. You choose how you want to get there. Knees come down to the mat. Turn to face the right side of the mat. Right foot goes out to the right, toes point straight forward. Left hand comes forward underneath the left shoulder. Right arm reaches up to the sky. Find that footing with the right foot, left hand. Start to press down into both. Hug that knee in and extend that left leg forward. Fallen triangle. Right hand comes down to the mat, left leg up and back, three-legged down dog. Step the left foot through, warrior 2. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reverse triangle. Come up to standing, triangle. Reverse warrior, send that left knee straight forward, reach up and back. Hands come down to the mat. Last opportunity for a vinyasa, but you can definitely skip it. Hold downward facing dog. And child's pose. Bring the knees down to the mat. Sit the hips back, forehead down. Arms back behind you would probably feel really good today. You'll feel a rounding of the upper back, shoulders. Backs of the hands can just rest on the mat outside the feet. And keep pulling the hips back toward the heels. Then bring the hands underneath you, lift the head and the chest, come to seated on the mat, extending the legs out in front of you. Scoot yourself forward until the hips are more in the center of the mat. Come on down onto your back. Setting up for bridge pose again. So this time we'll come all the way up. You don't have to hold back like we did at the beginning. And you can do the same setup that we did the first time. So walking the heels in underneath the knees, grab the outer edges of the mat like you're going to rip it apart. This is a great way to enter the pose. Lifting the chest, press into the feet, lift the hips up as high as you can. If you bring the shoulder blades underneath you a little bit more, that's fine. And then you can stay with pulling the mat apart, feeling how the arms dig into the mat. Or if you can keep that engagement and the shoulders feel open enough, you could interlace the fingers underneath the body coming into your bridge pose, whichever one feels like it gives you more space. Tail up between the knees. Chest is lifting and spreading. Looking up, never side to side. And slowly release. Bring the hips back down to the mat. 2 more like that. Dig into the heels, lift the hips up, find the arm variation that's working best for you. Next, exhale, slowly release, hips come back down to the mat, rest. Third and final round, setting up the rest of the day. Press into the feet, lift the hips up, find your arm variation. See if there's any more space you can find in this final bridge pose, Setu Bandhasana. Opening up the top of the hips, the pelvis. Take an inhale. Exhale, bring it back down. Hips come down to the mat. Knees come together, feet go out wide to the outer edges of the mat. Just feel that space in the lower back. Then you could bring your arms out like a T shape, either straight out or cactusing the arms, whichever one feels better. And then keeping the feet wide, move the knees side to side like windshield wipers. And if that bothers your lower back at all, just keep the knees together in the center and you don't have to move the knees side to side. For some of us, we get a nice release and some of us we don't, and that's fine. And you'll come back to center, heel toe the feet closer together, scoot the hips over to the right, bring the knees over to the left, finding your spinal twist. So left hand can rest wherever on the body. Right arm reaches, it's probably already reaching out to the right. Maybe the gaze goes over the right arm. So we always want to gaze in the direction we're twisting in, but we also want to listen to the neck. So we don't want to force it. You'll bring the gaze back up if you turn to the right. Come onto your back again. This time, scoot the hips over to the left, knees to the right, stacking those hips. Left arm reaches back behind you. Rest the right hand on the body. Falling into the twist on the other side. And you'll start to bring the gaze back up. Reach the right arm out. So now the arms are in a T shape. Bring the left arm all the way over on top of the right arm. So you're on the right side of the body. And you'll use the hands to bring yourself up to seated, facing forward. So we played with this tree shape a little bit today. We'll do it again for Janu Shirshasana. Bring the sole of the right foot inside of the left leg. So make sure you're even on the sit bones, maybe shifting side to side a little bit. Reach the arms all the way up. Center the chest with the left toes, which will feel like a twist, a little slight twist. Fold forward over that left leg. So hands can come down to the mat, the leg. If the foot's right there and you don't have to stretch too far for it, you can grab it. And those of you that are pretty open, you could put a block behind that left foot and fold over that way. But let the head come down toward the knee, close the eyes. Trying to keep the spine long. So think about reaching the heart forward and closing the eyes and releasing the head and neck is totally fine. Sometimes when we do that though, we lose the length in the spine and we're trying to keep this stretch a little bit more active. And you'll come back up to seated. Use that right hand to bring the right knee back to center, extending the right leg. Left hand will pull the left leg in, sole the left foot inside of the right leg. Feeling even on the sit bones, shifting side to side if you need to. Reaching the arms all the way up, center the chest with the right toes. Begin to fold forward over the right leg. Might feel different on this side, so take your time coming into it. See where the pose is. You'll start to come back up to center. Let's take Baddha Konasana. So soles of both feet together, knees wide. And you want the where the feet meet to be center with you. So if it got over to one side because of what we just did, the Janushirshasana, just line it up so that it's all even. You can hang on to the ankles and just sit up tall and let the knees come down toward the mat. Or you could grab the inner edges of the feet, open up the feet so that you're looking at the soles of the feet and then start to hinge forward this way. Elbows can come out wide, maybe rest on the legs. And trying to keep the spine long instead of rounded. You can close the eyes, just keep reaching the heart forward. Slowly come back up to center. Use the hands to bring the knees back together. Extend the legs out in front of you, reaching the arms all the way up. Fold over the legs, Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. And slowly come back up to seated. Walk the feet in. Scoot yourself forward and come down onto your back or take a seated meditation. It's up to you, however you want to close your practice. If you're taking a seated meditation, get yourself comfortable, find that long spine, rooting down through the sit bones. And if you're on your back in Shavasana, get yourself comfortable so that you can start to let go. All of us finding stillness. you're in your seated meditation, stay right where you are. If you're on your back, start to find some movement in the hands and the feet. Reach the arms overhead. And you'll bend the legs, walk the feet in. Roll over onto your right side. And using the hands, bringing yourself up to an easy cross-legged seat, your meditation seat, where we'll all come together. Bring the hands together in front of you. Bow the head, taking a moment to honor and acknowledge your heart and your spirit, your true teacher and guiding light. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you.